Let's continue our session with talking about eclipses. So an eclipse occurs when any part of either the moon or the earth enters the shadow of the other. Okay, so there's two different types. We have the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse that we'll focus on. Whoops. And the solar eclipse is an eclipse of the sun by the moon caused by the passage of the moon in front of the sun. Okay, and we'll look at images of this in a minute here. They can occur only at the time of new moon. Okay, so if it's during any other phase, we won't have that. Okay, so again, we will have the moon in front of the sun, and that's from our perspective. Okay. We also have the lunar eclipse, which is an eclipse of the moon, where the moon moves into the shadow of Earth, and they only occur during the time of full moon. Okay, so notice the difference there. The new moon is when we've got, actually, let me go back to that slide. That would be a good slide to show you. So the new moon here is where we would have the solar eclipse, and then the full moon here is going to be where we have the lunar eclipse. Okay, so let me go back. So then with that, let me show you guys some different perspectives here. So if we are looking here in this area, we would see, let me see. Yeah, if we're looking from this perspective here, anywhere in this thing called 1, and looking in this direction towards the sun, we would only see this object here. Okay. Now, if we're farther away in 4, we can see that object and then a little ring around it. Okay, and that's due to the distance. Okay. And then 2 and 3 are in between, where we've got the apparent passage of this in front of the sun. Okay, and same thing here. So these are just some different perspectives, but let me get a little bit more in detail about solar eclipses and lunar eclipses. Okay, so this is going to be a solar eclipse. So we've got the moon, I'm sorry, the earth, the earth, the moon, and the sun. So the sun has rays hitting the moon, lighting up this side, and there is a shadow that is cast, okay, onto the moon, and this will be the eclipse, and it will travel as we orbit. Okay, this will be called the eclipse path. Okay, so it won't just stay in one spot, but since we orbit, or I'm sorry, since we rotate, this will change. Okay, so we can see it maybe in a few different countries. Okay, since it does take time to get out of the eclipse. All right. So here is an image of a total solar eclipse where we've got the moon here and then the sun that you can see around it. So we can see a little bit of that sunlight, but if you ever experience a total solar eclipse, it will be almost like nighttime. It'll be pretty much like nighttime or maybe even darker. We won't have any light. Okay, so this is a total solar eclipse. A lot of times we'll get partial, so there's also something called partial solar eclipse. And so this is when we only have a percentage of it. So it goes, the moon will go in front of the sun, but it won't completely cover it like this one. So it might be a little bit off center so that it covers like all of this here, but it doesn't cover this part here. Okay, let me erase that. All right. And here are the eclipses of the moon or lunar eclipse. So we've got the sunlight again going towards Earth, hitting Earth. Okay. And then we have a shadow that is cast by the Earth. That's that dark piece here, this gray piece. And the moon will go into that shadow. And so we can see the eclipse form. Okay. So this is when the moon goes into that shadow. Okay. And this is during a full moon. Okay. All right. Before I end this, I wonder if I can get some of your guys' information on, let me see. There are some videos, I believe, on here, or not videos, images. No. Okay, I'll have to look into that. But there is some cool interactives that I will post. That way you can kind of play with this. The idea of the lunar phases and the eclipses. That way you can kind of get that hands-on experience to really understand those concepts. Okay. And then next time, we are kind of switching up the syllabus. You may have noticed. But next time we are going to be looking at chapter 6 on astronomical instruments, so looking at telescopes and so forth. Okay, so we will see you back then. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll post a couple more helpful videos as well on these topics. All right, thanks.